Hey folks, today we're going to do a little bit of coding in Golang again. And just to remind you why we do that, is because often you get a coding interview when you're doing when you're going through the interview process for a DevOps job. And often, in fact, majority of the cases, when you have a coding interview, you were asked to pick a language and you're actually asked to do a coding exercise. So right now, I'm in the process of doing videos that get you prepared for a Golang type assignment so that when you are comfortable doing coding in Golang, any coding interview that you do that has to do with programming, you can wing it. Before I start, please subscribe to my channel. When you do, it gives me the motivation to keep going because then I know it's helping somebody. Okay, today's lecture is going to be, and demo, it's going to be about custom struct type and I'll explain that in just a minute, and create an instance of it, and then update one of the values. So just a little background first, right? So a struct in Golang is basically, in Pascal or whatever it's called, record, basically it's a combination of multiple types. So for example, what that means, for example, let's say we're going to have a chess player, right? We're just going to call it CP for now, just because it's hard to, there's no typing here in this tool. A chess player has a name and has a rating. So when you create a chess player named John Doe, that chess player is going to have a name, let's say string, right? And so this is a string, and this is an int, right? So our assignment today is actually to create such a record, such a struct, right? Then create one instance of it, give it a name, give it a rating. Then we're going to write a method, right? That will update the rating of this player, right? The reason we're doing that is because this gives us a example of what in Golang called pointer receivers. So in a normal function in Golang, you get the value. So when you cannot update that value because it's just a copy of the value, right? So now we can actually look into VS Code. So if I write a function here, right? Function A, function X, right? And it will take in value whatever int. When we do that, this A, when this function is called, you actually make a copy. So you cannot update. So let's say that function does whatever, doesn't matter, right? And when we say B equals func X, right? And we give it the value A to pass it on, you can never update the value of, let me do this, let me make this C, and that way it makes more sense. So A is an int here, right? When we do it this way, right, this function can never update the value of A because this C is going to, when you pass the value of A, it's taken as C. C is part of the stack memory, where C is a copy of A. You can do whatever you want to do with C, but it will never update A. So the way methods work is you actually pass a pointer to that instance of the, and you will see that in the video in just a couple of minutes. You actually pass a pointer so that you can actually update the real instance of A here, right? That's the whole idea. And for that, we need a struct, and that's why it's basically this video today is two-part, two components, right? Because they go together. We're going to do a struct, and we're going to actually use pointer receiver to update an instance of the struct. So let's get started. So what are we going to do? First we're going to do is we're going to define a type, right? We're going to define a type called chess player. And this chess player is a struct, right? Of struct, and it has one key called name, and that is of type string, and it has another value, another key in that struct called rating, and that rating is an integer. Okay. Now that that type is defined, what you're going to do is going to actually, this is called instantiation, right? You can, this doesn't have any memory, anything, right? It's just a type that we define. Now we can actually create a player. So we're going to call John Doe. John Doe is a chess player. equals chess player, right? And its value, the values that we're going to give it is, I believe is parenthesis, curly brackets, name colon John. It's a string, so we're going to have to encode that into double strings. John Doe, and then comma rating for him starts out, let's say 2100, right? It's an integer, so it's going to be like that. Now, any complaints? Yep, it's undefined John Doe. Oh, what am I doing? Maybe a colon here. Okay, that's good. Declared not used. That we know that we haven't used it yet. So now we have made an instance of chess player, and that instance has one record, and the record has two key value pairs. One is this name and the rating. Now we get to the core of this video, right? This was like a prerequisite. So now we're going to say we're going to create a function, right? Normally, a function will not have these things. I'll show you in a second. So instead of taking in the value of John Doe, it's going to take in. So we're going to, first of all, we're going to say that the type that it takes in is chess player type, and not only that, it actually is. If we put star in front of it, if I could find star in my keyboard. Come on, where's star? Yeah, there you go. So it will take a pointer to chess player, so that when you update chess player in this function, it will actually change the value of John Doe, which we will prove by printing it after we're done with it. So, and the function's name is going to be, I forgot the name, up rating by 100, right? For whatever reason, it's always going to be 100. That's in a real life situation, that would be a variable and it up by whatever value. But right now, we're just demonstrating the use of a pointer receiver, right? So now, what it's going to do? It's not going to return anything because it's actually going to update the value of John Doe, so it doesn't have to return anything. So we go, okay. Now we're going to say, oh, this has to be. So we're going to need, just like any other incoming variable in a function, we have to give it a new name. So it says CP1, right? That's what's called inside this function. So now we're going to say CP1 dot, because CP1 is actually a pointer to John Doe. So CP1 dot, it's already giving what's possible. Rating, right, equals whatever it was before plus 100. So prove that it's worked, what we're going to do is we're going to do two print statements. fmt.println. First, we're going to print John Doe, right? And then we're going to call this function. I'm going to say John Doe. No, I'm going to say print again, right? Print again. And this time we're going to say call the function first. Up the rating, and remember we have to give it send John Doe to the function so it can update. Okay, let's save that. It's not like that print. Do no value is to the component. Oh, because it doesn't return any value. So we have to give it, let's say, I hate to. Let's see if I can do this. Can I say up rating by 100? It's a method, so I should be able to send this John Doe, and obviously it doesn't like that. So what are we doing? We are first defined John Doe and give him a name and a rating, and now we call the function. I don't know if we need the add or not, but we will see. So first what we're going to do, we're going to copy this. So we're going to print one time before making the change. And then we're going to make the change. And let's see, I don't think we need the n%. But let's see. Let's run this, see what happens. So now if we run it, yeah, that works. So I guess I did need the add sign for this. So what do we do? we defined a new type that has a name and a rating as key values. We made an instance of that type and gave it a name John Doe. Then we printed and gave it these values, printed it. Then we wrote a function that's called that has a pointer receiver as an input, so that it can actually update the actual value coming from the main function. And we call the function with John Doe's address, which is the @sign. And then we printed it again, and this time his rating went up by 100. So that's the whole idea of a pointer function and struct methods. And we're learning these things so we can slowly move towards actually doing Golang coding for DevOps. But first we have to learn the language just enough so we can actually start using it for our own purposes. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.